members of OBN Horn of Africa, and this is Future Africa program. Today I'm joined by Enoch Tumwaini from Canada. He is founder and president of African Rebirth. Originally, he is from Burundi. Welcome, Mr. Tumwaini, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad that you hosted me. I'm glad. Thank you, OBN Ethiopia.
Thank you. And what is African Rebirth, by the way?
So that's a good question. African Rebirth is an organization that has its mission to empower young people to defy mediocrity, empower and inspire young leaders. And so we do our activities, our services we offer include diplomacy, training young people in diplomacy, training young people in entrepreneurship, training young people in leadership, and peace building. And so we have a very large outlook. We have trained young people across Africa. And I'm sure there are so many young people who are Ethiopians who have benefited even from this program. If they're watching, they can tell. Yeah, so that African Rebirth, and why we created African Rebirth is to have a new mindset, a new renaissance of mindset. Like you hear the name, African Rebirth, something to be reborn. Two things must have happened. One, it must have died. Second, it must not be growing. So when you contextualize the continent of Africa, progress, present, and future, the historical, there's some of the things that are dead, and we need to resurrect them and come to life. And there is no better way doing that than empowering young people.
Many arguments are coming out that economic crisis in Africa happens due to lack of exercising genuine democracy. And do you agree with this claim? And what should be done to solve this problem as a continent?
That's a very good question. But Africa's problem has never been democracy, because let's contextualize the thing. Democracy, what is democracy? The rule of the majority, that's what they say. Now, the term democracy is a Western concept, and the Western concept of liberal democracy. Now, until after colonization, there was no such a term like in an African historical political organization. So democracy is a term that is foreign. And so saying that liberal democracy is the solution, all things have not worked out the way for Africa because of democracy, it's a fallacy. And I will tell you why. People need things to be solved. We have the primary things to solve. One is we need good schools. You don't need democracy to fix good schools. Two, we need a functioning healthcare system. You don't need democracy to fix that. Third, we need a very outspoken, smart administration, political organization. We don't need democracy to fix a political organization that suits Africans. And again, I will say it's the African political organization was shattered and dismantled and uprooted due to the point of colonialism, and replaced by a system that is alien, that is not central to African culture. Now, to any country, politics is organized around culture of that state, belief system of that country. And African were not political, the former political organization was not organized around liberal democracy. Now, what many people call democracy, it's actually not, because if you define democracy in its sense, how they define it is beyond regular election after 5 years. It's a functioning rule of law. It's, political rights respected. Now, you don't need democracy to respect people's rights. You just have to be human. And second, you don't need to be democratic to rise to power. China is not a democracy, but it's taking over the world. Go to Saudi Arabia, the Emiratis, they have a very organized system of administration. They don't practice liberal democracy. And so Africans need to inward look. What are the conditions? What are the needs that needs to be addressed? Once we organize that, fix our governance structure, systems, fix our governance structure to suit the needs of people. Now, a lot of countries say they have democracy. After 5 years, they got to elect. That's not really a thing, because you can't even tell. Most of our population is illiterate. So how do you tell even your manifesto to a person who can't even understand to read and write? So but the fact that you can't read and write does not mean that you don't know your needs. They need fixed education system, fixed equity or distribution of resources. They need good roads, infrastructure development. That's what really Africa needs. So democracy could become as a luxury. At a certain point, we attain those stuff, and we have a very functioning governance structure. We have a very functioning health education system. People are enlightened. People can debate. People can, scan through things beyond the surface. That's when democracy is possible. And again, democracies function on a very prosperous economies. You can't tell me you're democratic, but even the money to run the campaign, you borrow it from outside. Now that's democracy, because democracy means you take power by your rights and whatever they say. So if you can't finance your campaigns, how dare you say that you are democratic? If someone, the financier will also determine their interests, So democracy is not really a need for Africa. The need for Africa is to fix governance structures. And as people grow, societies grow. Even England was not too democratic like nowadays. Even America was not democratic. But as societies grow, then they expand. Then there is a conscious of wellness. Then the democracy thrives. Yeah.
And how the young generation being organized in a formal way like you did to defend the continent and to even protect democracy, because democracy in its very nature needs protection and even promotion.
Yes, absolutely. I like that. Now, one is what we are doing as African Rebrand and other even African governments and organizations that are central to young people's aspiration. Number one is to fix the ideological orientation of young people. Now, people are in house nations. People are in a lot of things that okay, we want to organize democracy the way the United States organized democracy. People are not in themselves. People are not looking at the needs of Ethiopia, aspirations of Ethiopia. People are hallucinating and comparing American democracy to Ethiopian democracy. Now, Ethiopia has different needs, different cultural orientation, different systems, and many other even African countries. So number one is how to protect democracy. And by every nature, by the way, every man is democratic. You will tell that everyone is democratic because no one wants to guide you, give you instructions every time. How do you feel if I say, okay, get out of your television? I don't think it's nice. You feel bad. So by very nature, man is democratic. Is determined is oriented and created to determine his own destiny. And so Seif was saying that you need to protect democracy. One, you need to be empowered. Or ideological orientation. People who are ideologically very clear, not on foreign ideologies, but they're inward ideologies. What does your country stand for? What is the history of your country? What's the history of this continent? What's the belief system? Being ideologically rooted to your country's ideologies, historical backgrounds, will make young people to respond to the needs, not to wants. And now what I see in most cases, most young people, first, they don't understand the geopolitical structure, international system, how international system operates. It's purely a system of interest and a system where the stronger takes it all. And so when you see the traffic of democracy, rights, what and what, these are mostly not, they don't suit our narrative as Africans. They don't suit the needs of Africans. And so one young people need to know is building a strong ideological African mentality or system that like addressing the needs of our people is the paramount. Now, I don't mean like in the modern world, there is interdependence. You can borrow an idea from wherever you are borrowing it, but at the end of the day, does it suit the needs of our people? Does it solve? Does it elevate people from poverty? Does it reduce illiteracy levels? Because let me tell you, my brother, Africa is a wonderful place because we are using first world solution to solve third world problems. Now that's a tragedy. You're using an American built system over 200 years to solve a 50-year-old so-called democracy or country. Now, that is being illusional. You're not living in reality. It's a fantasy. So let's lower down to the ground and meet the needs of our people and aspirations. And most of the time when you go around Africa in up countries and stuff, people need to, they don't know, they don't need to know that someone was elected or not. No, they need to be solved their problems. That's it. And second, young people should actively take part in the day-to-day politics and civil society organization by linking those aspirations to solve, to solution problem-solving mentality, solution mindset. And once you get involved, once you are ideologically very strong, you are able even to defend the democracy you are searching for.
Thank you very much indeed. And in Africa, there are many regional and continental organizations working in economy and working in culture and other related issues, and even including security. And
Yes.
let me mention some economic communities in Africa, such as COMESA, ECOWAS, IGAD, and SADC, and others as well.
Yes.
These organizations nowadays are facing challenges of funding and human capacity constraints, overlapping membership, and even problem of implementing.
Yes.
And my question is therefore how these organizations should come together, working collaboratively so as to solve the economic problem of the continent. Because Africa is rich in resources, as you know,
Yes.
and even
Yes.
other global powers are looking into Africa to extract resources from the continent.
Resources.
Yeah.
That's it's $1 million question, I would say. So one thing, let me take you into the context. Let me give you the context. Now, when you look at the Horn of Africa, you look at the West Africa, you look at the East, separate it a bit from the Horn, and then they look at the Southern Africa. Now, in this era, there is what we call the new neoliberalism economic order. Now, that's a capitalist, way they are oriented, and it's embedded to link Africa into the global supply chain and international trade. But they are not linking Africa or connecting Africa as a finished good supply chain of goods, but as a raw material to supply international markets. That's number one. Now, how do we as Africans overcome that? It is adding value to our goods. Adding value addition is a game changer. Because when you see us exporting raw materials. When you export coffee from Ethiopia, it might cost you like $1 or $4. But when you process it in the international market, it's going to cost like $10. Now, that's abnormal profit. And look, tied it in millions of dollars, you know. Second, Africa loses over $500 billion in a year in illicit transfers. Now, that's money lost through invasion or tax invasion of international organization and multinational companies that don't pay taxes, but they are so-called on tax holidays. Now, when you look at all those challenges that Africa from the beginning was looked at as a supply of raw materials to international market, to overcome that is coming together. And that's where now the regional bodies play. But these regional bodies, like you say, they have implementation funding problem. Now, the problem has never been funding. The problem is a mentality, because if you work in isolation, definitely there's going to be a funding problem. Now, number one, what we have to do, and what I think the regional bodies should do, one is clarity on trade. Now, trade must prevail at whatever circumstances. Now, this is backed by political will. You know, political will is so important that trade makes a lot easier to protect my interest in Ethiopia and protect your interest in Zimbabwe, protect your interest. And number one trade is you increase the volume of goods. Number three is you not to increase the volume of goods, but you increase even bargaining power in international market, because it comes with a voice. Now look at a giant like China negotiating with Djibouti, a country like Djibouti. The table is like this, the pendulum is like this, there's imbalance. So we have to fix to go beyond our political differences, our tribal differences. You find countries have historical differences with other countries. I'll give you, for example, the Horn of Africa. Why there is always like conflict in the Horn of Africa? It's not by mistake, it's design. The Horn of Africa is a source, is a beginning of the source of Nile, and also a gateway to Eden, to Gulf of Eden. Now, that is a very interlinked region for trade. There's a lot of weapon trade there that goes, connects it to the Arab Peninsula, the Gulf, or the oil Gulf of Peninsula, the Arab Gulf of Peninsula. Now there are powers competing. Turkey is competing to get a lead of Somalia. China is competing to get hold of the port of Djibouti. The Saudis and the Emirates are also competing to get Odessa, the Assab port of Eritrea. So there is a very regional competition for powers. And by that fact is that if we do not if Horn of Africa does not drop these myopic political differences of tribes, of religion, of small countries fighting each other, these big giants are going to take over. It's like a shark. They are going to take over. Let people share intelligence. Let people share political aspirations. Let people, think that this is a regional hub. Now, the economic conditions of the Horn of Africa does not meet the potential the region has, So until Africans come